listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and today we have another show lined for y'all today. So when days feel chaotic and polarized and overwhelming, how do you deal with that? How do we stay grounded, engaged, and purposeful? Well, we have a special guest today. Her name is Lauryn Axelrod. She has a website, laurynaxelrod.com. And when it comes to radical attention and acceptance, she's going to teach us all about her spiritual tools for resisting despair and building a better world. I know you have a lot on your resume. It's probably something I can spend about 5-10 minutes on, but I just want to cut to the chase. And let's talk about you, because you have a book, 10 Words, an interspiritual guide to becoming a better people in a better world. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? That's what I want to ask first.
Thanks so much for having me. Doing well. Thank you.
So kind of tell us a little bit about the book, 10 Words. What prompted you to say, you know what, this is needed and I need to start writing about this?
Well, you know, I've spent my life on the spiritual path, seeking, looking at different traditions, spending a lot of time studying and practicing deeply in across traditions. So Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, Taoism, Hinduism, all of them, right? And what I found was that if I looked at all of these traditions, they were all saying kind of the same thing in different ways, right? Different surface stuff, but underneath it, they were saying the same thing. And the same things kind of, you could distill them down into principles, right? That were common across the board. And just the principles of how to be a better person in a better world. The tools for getting through this difficult thing we call life. And so I sat down and started writing. What are these principles? And came up with 10 words that encapsulate these principles. And they're words that we know. There's nothing fancy here. We already know these words, right? And they're not like the 10 Commandments where it's like thou shalt and thou shalt not. These are principles. So they're going to show up in all kinds of different ways, but they show up across traditions. They show up in psychology, in science. You could almost kind of say that they're the universal ethics or the universal principles for how we just do this thing we call life in this crazy world that we live in.
When some people think about acceptance, they might think of it as a passive resignation. How do you define it differently as a tool for engagement rather than surrender?
Well, so acceptance is one of the 10 words, right? It's actually the second of the words. And the first word is attention. And you have to start there. Like, where is your attention? And especially these days when we've got so much coming at us, pulling at our attention, and we're so distracted, it's kind of hard to know where to put your attention. But every spiritual tradition has practices that train you to focus your attention. Right? So where is your attention? That is really the first step. It's not the end. You know, a lot of modern spirituality, we talk about, mindfulness meditation as though it's the be all and the end all. Like, that's it. You just sit on your cushion and you meditate. It's all going to be good. No, it's just the first step, right? So from attention, from saying, okay, I am now paying attention to this thing, to reality, to this thing we call life, which, by the way, is your spiritual path, whether you're aware of it or not, right? I'm paying attention. Now what? Oh, now some of this stuff is kind of prickly, like I don't like it, or I want it to change. I want it to be different. That's where we get into trouble, right? Instead of going, okay, it is what it is. I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to affirm it. I don't have to support it, but I have to be able to see it clearly for what it is before I can do anything else. I have to be able to accept reality on its terms. This is reality. We're not going to escape it. You know, that's escapism. Like, that's no, la, 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 la. I'm not really, this isn't really happening. No, we have to be so present with what is happening in our lives, in our world. It's going to hurt. The more present you are, the more it does sort of tweak at you. But that's when we go, okay, how do I accept? How do I once I accept this, I stop fighting with it. And then I can actually make changes, because then I can, from a non-emotionally worked up place, I can say, okay, based on the reality of the situation, what do I need to do to change it?
When you think about culture and how it thrives on distraction and outrage, of course, how can we train ourselves to practice true attention without being overwhelmed?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? This is a culture that we live in right now where it's all about outrage. And, the next news cycle is just to get you more outraged at what's happening, right? Attention. Where is your attention? You can also choose to I'm not checking that news source right now. I'm turning off the social media, because it just gets you worked up. That's its whole point. The whole point, outrage sells, It doesn't really sell to be like, we're just going to give you peaceful, nice, happy things. No, it doesn't work. So that's why they feed the outrage industry. But we have a choice. We're given free will, for better or for worse. And we can take our free will and say, this is not benefiting me. Think about it. Who benefits from you getting worked up? Right? Not you. Not the people that you're lashing out at because you're so worked up, right? So you go, okay, what's going to benefit me here? And what's going to benefit me is refocusing my attention on the things that give me joy, that give me pleasure, not to check out, right? You can still have that in awareness, but not put all your attention there. Like I like to take time every day. I'm very involved. I'm reading the news all the time, but I'm also like, okay, enough. I'm going outside. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go pay attention to the trees for a little bit and the birds. And it's spring and I can see the flowers. And it does wonders, physiologically as well as emotionally, as well as spiritually, because it reminds me, oh, right, we don't just live in this world of crazy despair. We live in a world of beauty. We live in a world of wonder. And we have to take that time to refocus our attention there, right? And accept that we have both. This is the world we live in. We do have both. It's just where we put our attention.
And speaking of peace, I know a lot of people go outside to get quote unquote fresh air because they're tired of the AC and all the drama that's on the TV screen. So I totally agree on that point. When you think about that, word that comes to mind is peace. And that's something you kind of talk about as well. Peace isn't the end goal, but actually the starting point of our action. For our audience, kind of explain how that involves in maybe change making from where they are in the present tense to where they actually go.
Well, as I said, if we're operating out of outrage, if we're operating out of anger and hate and fear, there's no way that what we create from that, the change that we make, will bring peace. It just can't. The only way that we are going to bring peace to our external world is by bringing peace to our internal world, right? And again, that doesn't mean that you're always going to be like, I'm just blissed out, peaceful, bliss bunny. No, life's not easy. We have our times. Believe me, I have plenty of them where I'm just like, and then it's like, no, you can't do anything from that place. All you can do is, go punch a pillow. Like that's not going to, sometimes you need to do that, but that's not where you're going to make change from. You're only going to make change in yourself and in the world outside when you go, okay, I accept the way it is. The serenity prayer from, AA, that, God grant me the ability to, change the things I can and let go of the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? That's where you get peace. Serenity is like, can't do anything about that. I'm going to focus my attention on the things I can do something about. And it's right in front of you, usually. We don't have to change the world. We can't, but we can change the little space around us and the people that we come into contact with, and we can change ourselves, how we react. Because if we're reacting, if we've got a, hair trigger and we're like, rah, the minute somebody says something, we're not contributing to a peaceful world. We need to step back. Okay, calm, take a breath, come back down to ground, go outside, get some fresh air.
I love that. Once again, listen on Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest today, Lauryn Axelrod. You can go to her website, laurynaxelrod.com. We're also talking about her book, 10 Words and Interspiritual Guide to Becoming Better People in a Better World. You remind me of a guest I had on who was a U.S. Marine. He had a very unique observation that was pretty clever. And he was talking about closed doors. And he said what he had to realize was just because you have the closed door in your face doesn't mean you have to just sit there or stand there and be like, woe is me. Like, why did this door close? Sometimes you just got to look down the hallway and say, oh, there's some other options. There's some other opportunities. Maybe I should not zoom in so close to this closed door. And maybe like what you just said moments ago about taking a step back, to see clarity. Sometimes we have to zoom out a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially, when things are hard. That's why we kind of have to practice when things aren't so hard. It's really hard to learn how to surf in a tsunami, So we practice. Okay, well, I can take a minute every day to just step back and see more clearly. Zoom out, as you say, It's not all bad. You might be having a bad moment, but it's not all bad, and we have to remember that.
When you think about people who sometimes they criticize or they argue about spiritual approaches or being too soft in comparison to the severity of today's world's crisis, how would you respond to that thought process?
Well, I think we have to make a distinction between kind of modern New Age spirituality and the spirituality that comes out of the traditions that we've had for thousands of years that actually work. Like they actually work. And I understand a lot of people are like, I don't want to be boxed into a religion, but the pathways and the tools that we were given, that we've been given, actually work. So that's really what the 10 words are, is looking at what are those tools, what are the principles that we can apply in our own lives that come out of these texts, to help us become better people in a better world, help us get through this crazy that we're living in, and the other thing is that a lot of modern spirituality, we kind of pick and choose. And we pick, I like this part and I like this part and this is comfortable and this makes me feel good. Spirituality doesn't always make you feel good. You got to go through some of the hard stuff to get to that really, wonderful place. It's there, but you kind of you got to be pushed. You got to stretch a little bit. And so that's where I would say that some of the criticism of modern spirituality being too soft is because it is. It actually is. Like, it's if all I need to go is I'm going to go take my bubble bath and, sing to my crystals, and that feels great, nothing wrong with that. But that's not really what a spiritual path is. If you look at the spiritual paths that we've been given across the board, they take a little bit of effort. They're going to push you. It's not easy. If one of the words, for example, is benevolence, right, which is a word across the board, how often do we have to remind ourselves to be nice?
Every day.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's not always easy. These are simple words, but that doesn't mean that they're easy. They're a lifelong practice because these are the ancient words, these are the ancient principles.
And speaking of practice, one would think of patience when they think about your work history. You also worked as a hospice chaplain. Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of draw from the earlier comment where you talked about wisdom. I think that word is good because wisdom to know the difference. I think that's a good illustration between the two, because in order to have that kumbaya, peace, happy, joyful moments. You have to go through some challenging situations that may not be the most fun and most convenient part of your day. So what have you learned from the experience of being a hospice chaplain? Did that teach you some things that you appreciate now?
Oh, so much, so much. You know, the end of our lives is not easy. It's not easy. And I have been blessed to learn from my patients and how they approach, how they approach the end. And what I have learned is that the more you fight it, the harder it is. And this is where acceptance comes in, is accepting. It's so hard for us to accept the loss of our capacities, right? Not being able to walk or not being able to get up and go outside and drive around and lead these lives that we've been living up to this point, or that our bodies hurt, or that we just feel sick or we're exhausted. It's really hard. And what I found is the people who are the most peaceful about this are the people who've accepted, this is what I signed up for. I didn't read the small print, or I, kind of ignored that. But when they come to that acceptance, I had one patient, she passed away recently. She was 105. And the thing that was amazing about her was everything was still wow. Like, she was still alive every day for her. Literally, when she woke up in the morning, she was, I have another day. The gift, the ultimate gift that we have is the gift of life. And every day that we have it, let it be the wonder of the fact that, wow, I'm breathing. I get to be here. Look at all this amazing stuff. Okay, some of it's hard, but wow, there are hot dogs and petunias. Like whatever it is, to find that place of wow and wonder, because this is short. This ride is short.
One thing I want to say, because I'm a visual person, is when people speak, I shared this a few times a few years ago, and that is, for some reason, I literally see it like a movie. Like when someone is telling a story, they're saying something. I'm sure most people, I can't say most, but I would say some people have that same effect where someone starts speaking, telling a story, you start seeing movie scenes and panning of cameras and all this stuff. Well, I couldn't help but to think about the word reflection, because in life, as you are going through all these years, you, at some point, whether you want to or not, you have to begin to reflect. And you reflect on your stories or experiences and things you've been through and witnessed and all that. So my next question for you is, when you think about reflection, how can people who watch this and listen to this episode start to internalize that process? Because I think sometimes it can expose our biases or our denials in life.
Yeah. So one of the words, the sixth word, is contemplation, right? Is taking some time every day, every couple of days, every week, right? To just get quiet, go into the temple is the way I describe it. Like con is in templum, right? So into the temple or with the temple. And that is a time to reflect, right? We never are going to get better or be the people that we want to be, become the people we want to be, if we can't see where we've come from and be able to look back and go, that didn't work so well. How can I do this differently, right? Or who is it that I really am trying to be? What are my values? What matters to me? We need to take time to reflect. We can't just go, plow through, because again, I can tell you that people at the end who haven't taken that time to reflect, they get hammered. They get hammered at the end. Suddenly everything comes at them instead of taking that time once a week and go, how did this week go? How could I have done something differently? maybe that didn't work so well, or that actually worked really well. Okay, do that again. That worked. It's important that we contemplate or reflect.
And for our listeners and viewers, you're going to hear me say this yet again. I promise you, it's not the story of the show, but just emphasizing what you just said. I want to add to that. We've been saying for the past few months now, getting 1% better every day versus trying to be Babe Ruth and hit the home run on the first swing. Because even he said in great words that you can't win today's games with yesterday's home runs. So when it comes to that, I'm going to do the best I can in this moment that I have.
Right.
Kind of explain to the audience what that means in your own perspective.
I really couldn't have said it better. It's right now is all you have, right? And you do a little bit every day. So there's a quote, it's kind of a mashup from Micah in the Bible, and then Pirkei Avot, which are the sayings of the elders in the Jewish tradition. And the quote is this: "Do not be daunted by the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You're not obligated to complete the work, but you're not free to abandon it either." Right? So it's exactly what you're saying. We do a little bit. We do what we can with what's in front of us right now. The next moment, it might be something else. We can't save the world. Like, not all of us are, only a few people get to be born, Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi, and the rest of us just have to do what we can do right now with the people and places right in front of us. And if we did that, can you imagine the world that we would live in if everybody just was like, how can I make myself and the world right in front of me a little bit better today? Wow. Wow. What kind of world would we live in? We would live in that paradise. I really believe that. It's not easy to do, but we need to try, right? We're not free to abandon the work.
And to your point, like you said about people like Martin Luther King, and to add to that, I would say that there's only one you.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one Lauryn Axelrod. There's only one person that's viewing this or listening to this show. Like, sometimes we put people so high on the trophy shelf, if you will, of collections or the greatest of the greats. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I'm not saying put yourself on that shelf, but at the same time, why not?
Or it's that was their particular job in the world. You came in with your own. You do you, baby.
That's
right. You do you, baby, and let everybody else do them.
And that's what I'm getting at, because what I'm saying is we stunt our own growth when we say that all the great things have already been done. If that was the case, then there will never be another CEO. There will never be another new president. Everything is seasonal. Everything changes within time. Mm-hmm. Time is consistent. It's humans that are not consistent with time. Okay. Good. We all have flaws and trip and have fumbles and blurbs and whatever you want to call it. But my point in that thought is that when you take the appreciation of the moment, then it's up to you to deliver. No one's going to swing the bat for you. No one's going to save you. No one's going to tell you, hey, how are your dreams going today? I don't think they asked Martin Luther King that. I don't think they said, hey, how's that speech you're working on? How's that march you're doing? He had to make those tough decisions. And I feel when people start to make those tough decisions, that's when they start to have real change, not just in their communities, not just in their lives, but for history to study.
Yeah. Yeah. And who's to say what the next thing is supposed to be anyway. You do what you're passionate about, what breaks your heart, what you love. Work that way. One of the things that we talk about in the book is the urge to serve. Because at a certain point, once you've been on a spiritual path a little bit of time, that's going to come up. How can I serve others? How can I serve the world that I live? Well, that is going to be as individual as every person who's hearing this or reading the book. We all can serve in our own way. And who's to say what changes the world? Sometimes just smiling at the person in the checkout line could completely change the world. You don't know that. At least it might change their day. That's changing the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is something that if people pay more attention to, it's like the small things are always the very pixels that make the big picture.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would almost say that you said that be 1% happier. I'm going to say be 1% kinder. How can you be 1% kinder today? Because I guarantee you will feel that 1% happier if you are 1% kinder.
Definitely. Yeah. I think when people take account of what's actually there versus what they assume or what they want to believe, when they take all of that out and just actually observe what's in front of them, that's the only way you know how to take your next step.
Exactly. That's acceptance right there. Attention and acceptance. The first 2 of 10 words, right?
Well, once again, you've been listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Lauryn Axelrod. When people go get your book, 10 Words, and enter a spiritual guide to becoming a better people in a better world, what do you hope that they will pay forward? Not just appreciating the effort you put into the book to teach them wisdom, but also their duty of what they should and ought to do after they read the message.
Well, we've kind of already touched on it, really. One of it is you do you, and you do what you can in this moment right now. That's going to pay it forward. Be who you are, become the person that you want to be, and do what's right in front of you. Serve, care.
If someone feels like they are too overwhelmed with life's challenges, I know what you're going to say, but just for those in the back, what would you say to encourage them to move on?
Take a breath, step back, refocus your attention, right? Refocus your attention on the things that give you joy. The world's just going to keep turning. You can come back. You can turn the TV back on, but for now, take care of you, because you can't, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. You got to take care of you. You will be a much, much better, happier person if you take care of you first and then go out. So if you're overwhelmed, take a break. No harm. There's no harm in taking a break, especially now. We're all overwhelmed. I think we all are. I think if we just all were really honest and admitted it, we're all pretty overwhelmed. Take a breath.
With that said, make sure you go to Lauryn's website, laurynaxelrod.com, and get a copy of the book, 10 Words. And like always, to you, I want to say thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.